All right, so looks like it's just going to be the four of us, so we can keep this as casual as we want. So feel free to chime in with questions if you have any. I'm going to share my screen now and start. So what I'm talking about today is the 211 Cybercrime program, and I can't admit people when it's in sharing mode. That's good to know. And certain scams that will affect people not only during COVID, but also on the job hunt. So my name is Rachel Ferdinandi. I'm the cybercrime specialist at the United Way 211. This program launched in May of 2019 in partnership with the Cybercrime Support Network in efforts to help Rhode Island victims through reporting and recovery of all types of cybercrimes. And I'll get into all those types very soon. But in the meantime, how does 211 help you? If you've been victimized by a cybercrime, there are so many different places to report that or to find help that it can get really confusing. It can get it can be very difficult to report to everywhere you need to report without missing anywhere. So 211 allows victims to come to one location, find out about all of the reporting areas, and find out about all of those resources they need for what incident that they have been victimized by. So what can you call 211 cybercrime for? At 211, call specialists help victims report to the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which is the FBI's Cyber Recording Forum, and the State Police's Joint Cyber Task Force. And actually, very recently, we've begun a relationship with the Attorney General's office. So once we report to all of those locations, then we can learn what is the most effective step to recovery for the individual. We can help you find immediate financial assistance. That's the really great thing about 211. 211 has a comprehensive database of shelters, financial assistance, food pantries, resources for SNAP. So we can help you get those immediate resources when your bank account has been emptied. In year one, I'm so sorry, this slide did not translate right. In year one, we received 45% of our callers as victims of imposter scams, which meant that they believed that they were paying money to a friend or family member or a business or a government agency to provide a service, and then realized later that it was an imposter. 9% of those, which would be this orange one, was identity theft. 12% financial and purchase scams. 8% hacked accounts or devices. And 20% cyber harassment calls. 1%, this little green sliver here, were businesses, and 5% were other, which were mainly people who were not victimized but were looking for information. So there are 5 major types of cyber crimes: hacked accounts or devices, identity theft, cyberbullying and harassment, financial purchase scams, and imposter scams. Hacked accounts or devices, as you can imagine, a device is a computer, a tablet, a phone, or anything else that has access to the internet. Social media, these are Facebook accounts, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram accounts. And then there's email accounts, which can become very invasive. The issue with email accounts is that we connect them to all of these other accounts we have. So once an email account becomes compromised, it's very difficult to get that back. And then there's bank or credit card accounts, which again becomes identity theft. And once those are lost, you often have to get whole new accounts. So you can't just change your password. You have to completely delete those accounts and get completely new ones. Work or school accounts, and then other accounts, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and any account that you have online can be hacked. Identity theft, financial, use of credit card or bank account, which we just mentioned in the hacked accounts or devices. Medical identity theft is when a scammer or imposter uses your insurance for billing or medical treatment. A social security number is when your social security number is used without your knowledge or consent to open bank accounts, gain credit, or collect unemployment or social security benefits. Criminal is when a scammer or imposter will use your identity strictly to commit a crime. And social media, use of your identity on social media. And often these are all overlapping. Very often a scammer will create a fake social media account to reach out to your contacts and get their information, their banking information, or scam them for money, or to connect that to other accounts and hack multiple accounts, get into your email account or your bank account. And then social security number, identity theft is the most invasive. It very much becomes life altering. So, and ID thieves often use the identity of children who are under 18 or deceased individuals because those people won't be checking their credit at all. So recovery from identity theft can require hundreds of hours of time, often taking months or even years to fully recover. So what this means is that not only do you have to navigate between all of these banking institutions and credit bureaus and the Social Security Administration and the Federal Trade Administration, the Attorney General's office, and more, but it can happen to anyone, anytime. And even if you're the most careful person in the world, you may end up needing an entirely new Social Security number. So cyberbullying and harassment. Cyberbullying is the use of technology to ridicule, embarrass, or intimidate a person. Harassment is bullying, intimidating, or pressuring a person. Cyberstalking, the use of the internet to harass, monitor, or persecute a person obsessively. These tend to be very, very much in the real world as much as in cyberspace. So these tend to be some of my most delicate cases. Financial purchase scams. This includes advanced fee scams where you pay up front for goods or services. Online shopping scams where you purchase an item online and you never receive it, or it comes to you and it's fake. Mortgage or real estate scams where what you think you purchased or rented doesn't exist or isn't owned by the seller. Timeshare or travel scams, which is when you think you bought a timeshare or a vacation package. Investment scams, you think you invested in a business that turned out not to exist. And extortion scams, which tend to scare people a lot. You receive an email or a call from a scammer saying that they have personal information or they have personal videos of you and they want money, or they're going to share that with everyone you know. Imposter scams are most of what I deal with. When a scammer impersonates someone to convince you to give out private information. This could be your name, your address, your email, your social security number, or your credit card, or it could be just an attempt to get money from you. There's the grandparent scam or romance scams, both of which the victim tends to just ask for money or say, hey, this is your grandson or your granddaughter and I'm in jail or I'm in the hospital and I need money right now to pay my medical bills, or I'm in jail and I need money to pay a lawyer, or I need money for bail and I need you to go to the nearest Stop and Shop and get me $300 worth of iTunes gift cards. And it sounds outlandish when I say it like that, but a lot of the time people fall for it because they're not given time to think about it. So again, this could be friend or family impersonators like the example I just gave, but it also could be government or military impersonators like the IRS or the Social Security Administration. Charity impersonators are very popular right now because of COVID. People are asking for donations here and there, and they're asking that you donate to this new charity that you've never heard of to help feed the children who aren't in school right now, or anything along those lines. Prize lottery or sweepstakes impersonators and IT tech impersonators are also very big. So most of my callers are over 60 years of age. Many of them feel harassed or overwhelmed, and they don't want to let their calls go to voicemail, which can be a little difficult because a lot of the time the only way to make these calls stop is by letting your calls go to voicemail. Unfortunately, if you pick up the phone when the scammer is calling you, they're going to mark your number as a live number, and even if they don't get you on a scam, they're going to sell your number so they can at least make some money off of you. Sometimes scammers threaten your freedom. They'll tell you the police are on their way. Sometimes they'll threaten your livelihood. They'll take away your Social Security benefits, so they'll threaten to. And sometimes they'll threaten your life or your family's life. And many times people don't understand that these are cyber crimes because of the fact that they happen over the phone, or they happen in person, but these criminals have received information from social media. And then a really big issue is that people feel guilt or shame because they've fallen for it, or they feel embarrassed because they've fallen for it, which it happens to 1 in 3 people is a victim of a cybercrime. And that's what I tell people anytime I get a call, is that it's really more common than you think, and it says nothing about you. It really says more about the other person. The Internet Crime Complaint Center is the reporting form available online for the FBI. This form can be accessed at ic3.gov. Although if you dial 211, I or another call specialist can help you. Just fill it out over the phone. It takes about 5 minutes. And what it does is it's one central location to report cybercrimes to. And it's really great because now it's available to all sworn law enforcement and FBI personnel through their law enforcement enterprise portal. And what you can submit to this IC3 is theft of intellectual property rights, computer intrusion, economic espionage, which means if somebody has downloaded spyware onto your phone or your computer, you can report it there, online extortion, international money laundering, fraud schemes, which are identity theft, phishing and spam and reshipping, auction fraud, payment fraud, counterfeit goods, romance scams, non-delivery of goods, and any other fraud schemes where somebody is trying to make a grab for your money. The Rhode Island Joint Cyber Task Force is the Rhode Island State Police's computer crimes unit, and I also send them information of victims. They exist to prevent and respond to cybersecurity events and defend the security of critical infrastructure in Rhode Island. So they deal with more larger dollar amounts, but they do still want to know what crimes are happening in Rhode Island. If they find patterns and if they're able to, they will follow up on it. So how do scammers get you to give up your money? They impersonate someone. They trick you into thinking that they are trusted. They use fear. They scare you by threatening your livelihood, your freedom, or your life. They use urgency. They tell you that you're going to lose out on this amazing job opportunity or threaten an urgent consequence if money isn't paid. So they'll say, if you don't pay me right now, the cop's going to be at your door. Secrecy. They'll convince you not to tell anyone what's happening so that outsiders are unable to recognize the situation and say, hey, that sounds kind of shady. And then they prey on your empathy. In phishing scams, which is when they come at you through email, often they'll tell you it's to help somebody, or they'll use a charity scam to feed the children, or anything along those lines to get you to think, oh, it would be nice if I helped. Phishing or smishing, fraudulent emails or texts, respectively, that impersonate a trusted person, business, organization to gain your information, passwords, usernames, credit card information, social security numbers. Usually it starts with smaller dollar amounts, so it's $5 here or $20 here, and then it works its way up. One way to find out if it's a phishing email is to check the email sender. So as you can see on the screen, there's an image that says from Courtney Nicolato. She is the CEO of United Way 211 where I work. It says to me. That is my email. It's at uwri.org. It is not at gmail.com. If this was from the real Courtney Nicolato, this email, it would say courtney.nicolato@uwri.org. And what it says is President Chairman 6675 at gmail.com. So if you can remember to check that sender quite often, it'll be fairly obvious that it's a phishing email. Another thing you can do is hover over a link before clicking on it. And so what that means is if this were a real link, what I would do is I would just take my cursor and hover over it. I hope you guys can see my cursor right now. And just hover over it, and hopefully in the bottom corner, you would be able to see an actual URL. As you can see in the image, the cursor is over www.ebay.com. But if you look where the arrow is pointing, that is actually sending you to buyleoalatte.com. Oh, good. You can see my cursor. I'm glad. So it's very important to always look at your URL to ensure the site you're using isn't only the one you expect to be on, but also that it's encrypted. I'm really sorry, the image didn't transfer. I'm using Google Docs for some reason, or not Google Docs, the internet version, and that's why this PowerPoint seems to have a few issues. I'm so sorry about that. Let me... I'll fix this and I'll send you an updated PDF so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, if you look at the URL of any website, you should see that it says HTTPS. If it says HTTP without an S, you're in an unsecure site and you should never enter any personal information. And another thing you can do is look for a lock symbol or the word secure. So if you're on facebook.com and you wanted to double check this, you could just look at the very top of the screen where it says www.facebook.com. And before you see www, you should see HTTPS. And then it should have a colon and 2 slashes. And that is where you can be sure you're in an encrypted site. Oh, there it is. Okay, well, that's good. So this is what I was just mentioning. So as you can see, there's the word secure, there's a lock symbol, and there's an S after the HTTP. This is an example of an actual victim who received this phishing email, and she received this at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it was early, she was sleepy. She thought it was from her pastor, whose real name was Pastor Van Trapp, and she didn't look at that actual email address. As you can see, it says clergychurch7@gmail.com. I don't know about you, but if I was a pastor in a church, it wouldn't say Clergy Church 7, it would say Pastor Van Trapp at whatever the name is of the church, likely, or it would say pastorvantrapp@gmail.com, very possibly. Another thing to notice is the subject of the email. It just says peace. It's very vague. And then the email itself is also vague. It just says, I need a favor if you just email me back. That's a good point. Sometimes it doesn't show up on your cell phone. What you have to do in that case is check your computer, or if you have a smartphone, you should be able to click a little down caret or a down arrow that will show you the full details of the email. And that way you should be able to see exactly who is sending you your emails. So this victim did respond to that first email, and this is what she got back. It said, thank you for your response. I need you to help me with a Google Play gift card worth $300 at $100 each or $50 denominations for a friend of mine going through cancer in a hospital. So not only does he prey on the fact that it's still early, she's not really awake yet, she's being trusting, she's expecting that this is her pastor, but he's also preying on her empathy, her sympathy for a friend of his going through cancer. And then he explains why he can't do it. I'm in a meeting. I can't do this right now. Let me know if you can help me with this, and then he'll pay her back. So it's very roundabout, but at the same time, he gives her very detailed information about the money he wants, but not about anything else. So moving on to passwords, it's really important to keep very strong and very varied passwords to protect your sensitive information. And what that means is you shouldn't be using the same password in rotation. You shouldn't be using United Way 211 as your password for everything. And you shouldn't use just United Way. You shouldn't use simple passwords. What you could do is add in an exclamation point at the end or in the middle of the words. You could change 211 to 2 exclamation point, really just to make it a little bit more difficult to guess. And most of the time to generate a password, it has to have a certain number of things. It has to have capital letters and lowercase letters. It has to have numbers, and it has to have symbols very often. And that's for your protection. So I definitely recommend always have 1 or 2 symbols and mix up your numbers. So instead of having United Way 211, put a 1 in the United instead of an I, and then make the 211 2 exclamation point, and take the A and turn it into an @ symbol or something like that to make it more confusing and more difficult to guess. And then when you do that and you use different passwords, if you use United Way 211 here, and then you use, you use 211 Cybercrime there, and you have a 3 somewhere in there instead of an E, you can make it varied. And the thing about hackers is the way they get into your information is they're guessing. So the harder you make it for them to guess, the less likely you are to get hacked. If you do happen to be hacked, change your password immediately, and any passwords associated with any accounts you have associated with your compromised accounts. And this can get really difficult. So there are a lot of really great sites like LastPass.com where you can store and even generate secure passwords, although you do have to be sure you keep that last password secure. Yes.
Well, excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Hello?
Hello? No? Okay. You could also visit haveibeenpwned.com. That's PWNED. And this is a really great site because
Yeah.
you check your emails and find out if that email has been involved in a major data breach and exactly what information was compromised in those data breaches. I really recommend checking this site with any email address that you have once a month, maybe once every 6 months if you don't have the time to do it once a month. But it tells you if your username, your passwords, any personal information that has been compromised in any major data breaches. And that way, if you know you've been compromised recently, you can change your password and be good to go before anybody even has the chance to attempt to use your compromised password.
Sure. Give it to me and I can call her.
Hello?
Okay.
So public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Stella?
I'm sorry, what is it?
Stella, would you mind muting yourself?
Yeah, 612-4087, yes.
Public Wi-Fi is a godsend to a lot of people. It's
yes.
It's the ability for people to reach, to job hunt, to
yes.
reach people around the world. It's amazing to have public Wi-Fi, especially if you can't afford
And what's her name?
Wi-Fi. But you do have to be a
It's
little bit.
390-0590.
Stella?
Andrea. Okay.
Stella, would you mind muting yourself?
Okay, great. I will do that. Take care. Okay, bye-bye.
Let me see if I can mute her. I don't think I can. So man-in-the-middle attacks are when a hacker essentially listens in on what you're doing. So if you're logging into your email or your bank accounts, they now can also, which means they're viewing everything you're doing on your computer when you're connected to public Wi-Fi. And that is very dangerous if this is your only way to check your bank account and check your email or log in to your work account. And it's very similar to malicious hotspots, which is where a hacker sets up a hotspot that looks like it's run by a legitimate business. So if you were at Starbucks using their Wi-Fi and they had two different Wi-Fis, one said Starbucks and one said Starbucks _, they look very similar. What you could do is go up to the Starbucks counter and ask them what their Wi-Fi is. And that way you know you're not on a fake Wi-Fi. And then malware distribution is when a hacker targets your vulnerabilities and then sends malware onto it, which means that they're downloading malware to get into your private information or spy on you on your computer. So to be safe when using public Wi-Fi, I strongly recommend using a virtual private network, which basically means that you have private encryption in your own computer when you send any information out, even though you're on public Wi-Fi. And you can also turn off your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth when it's not in use. You can log out of any accounts after you use them, and just it's a good general rule not to access sensitive accounts like your bank accounts or your health apps when you're using public Wi-Fi. So let's move on to job scams. These are some of the most popular job scams. Work from home opportunities, package reshipment opportunities, secret shopper positions, or pyramid schemes, which is fraudulent opportunities where multi-level marketing scheme is there to kind of, it's like a fake multi-level marketing scheme, although a multi-level marketing scheme itself is almost a scam. The difference mainly is that you're looking to recruit people rather than to sell product. And then any job that has a generic title such as caregiver, administrative assistant, customer service rep, you always need to be careful with these because they are very popular with people who are just trying to find a job, and doesn't require specific skills, so anybody can apply to them. And then any job which requires you to purchase the job itself or more job listings, or to purchase certificates or licenses, or to purchase startup supplies. If any of these things, if they ask you to purchase any of these things, it's more than likely a scam. It's almost 100% a scam. So just walk away. So the signs of a job scam, they're asking you to pay to get the job. If you get an email out of the blue that said, hey, we saw your resume on this site, we'd like to hire you. There's also almost always a job scam. They promise you'll have a job even without giving you an interview or asking you to interview, or they'll promise you make tons of money. Very often that's an MLM, a multi-level marketing scheme, or a pyramid scheme. They ask you for your credit card or bank account information, or if you see ads online for undisclosed government jobs, these are almost always scams. Governments always use full disclosure when they're hiring. And then pressure to act fast or lose an opportunity. Also, almost always a job scam. Most employers recognize that a job is a big deal and you need to weigh your pros and cons before you say anything. So to stay safe when you're job hunting, you can always look into the person who's contacting you. If they're claiming to be from a well-known business like United Way or Coca-Cola, you can always look on that business's careers page. They almost always have a legitimate website with a legitimate careers page, and you can see if that specific job is posted, and you can find the actual contact information for that specific job. If it's a less well-known business, if it's something you've never heard of, you can check the Better Business Bureau, or if it's a nonprofit, you could check the Charity Navigator or GuideStar to be sure that these are real businesses or organizations. And the great thing about these three sites is that they have links, they have contact information to these real businesses. So really quick, I just want to show you if I can. Great. So this is a real link. And I just want to show you that my cursor is hovering over Better Business Bureau. And in the very bottom of the left of the screen, you can see the website. It's www.bbb.org. And I just want to show you that so that you can see, because if it were a fake site, it would have a fake URL there. It shows you where it's really going to send you. So if it's like a long string of non-existent, of just letters and numbers, you can bet it's probably a scam. Another way to be safe when job hunting, limit your contact information or personal information. Make sure you've checked into the company and you have real paperwork before you offer any personal information like your social security number, just to be sure. And then what you can do is you can keep a log of who you're contacting. If you don't respond to emails or calls offering jobs out of the blue, but you do get an email from Coca-Cola who you already applied to and you remember applying to, or even if you're applying to 20 jobs a day, you can check that list of places you've actually applied and say, yes, I did apply to this. This is legitimate. And then never, ever pay the employer. They should never be asking you to pay them for anything. So what to do if you've been victimized? Stop all contact with the scammers. Save any documentation or emails you have, and then you could call 211, or you could visit fraudsupport.org to report to the IC3 and the state police. And then contact the FTC by calling the number on the page or ftc.gov/complaint. And one great thing about the FTC's site is that they do offer some recovery options if you have lost money. Not to say that they'll make you whole, but that they will help you come up with a plan. Unemployment fraud is kind of running rampant right now, so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. It's very common, and imposters during COVID-19 are filing for unemployment with names and personal information of a lot of people because a lot of people are currently losing their jobs. So they're trying to beat out anybody if they have lost their job, and they're taking a chance that you haven't applied yet. Most of the time, if you're going to find out, it's when you receive correspondence from the Department of Labor and Training, or when you file yourself and you're rejected because somebody already filed in your name. Most of the time, it's going to be sent to the imposter's account, and you can just file it with the state police, and hopefully they can get it all cleared up. But sometimes one thing to be really wary of is the money will be deposited into your account, and the imposter will call, email, or text you and try to convince you to give them this money. So if you've been a victim of unemployment scams, you can call 211 to report to the IC3 and get some next steps. Visit the Rhode Island State Police's website to file a claim, and that's on the screen now at www.risp.ri.gov. And there's a big orange banner at the top of their screen right now because this is so popular. Not popular, but common. Just to file that claim, and then contact your employer or your previous employer and report the fraud. And then you can visit identitytheft.gov to report to the Federal Trade Commission and create a recovery plan. And visit annualcreditreport.com to check your credit report and identity theft, or for other identity theft. And then you can link to the 3 bureaus to dispute and place a fraud alert or a security freeze. And you can always call 211 to find all of these steps, or visit fraudsupport.org to view all of these steps. So these are just popular scams right now, and I wanted to make note of them. So COVID-19 treatment and testing scams, PPE scams, that's personal protective equipment like gloves and masks. Price gouging, contract tracing scams, when somebody impersonates the Department of Health saying that you have been traced in somebody's COVID-19 positive test and that you need to get tested, or you need to pay this money to schedule a test. Charity scams, stimulus fraud, and COVID emergency scams. The stimulus fraud is when people who haven't received their stimulus check receive a call or a letter from someone claiming to be the IRS that they have to pay taxes or something along those lines to get their stimulus check. Charity scams are when scammers impersonate real charities or create fake ones to ask for donations. So if you've been called, emailed, or approached in person by someone claiming to be from a charity or nonprofit, don't pay them until you look into them. If they have a real website, go to that. If it's the United Way and it's a well-known business, if they're claiming to be from the Rhode Island Blood Center or the Red Cross, they have legitimate websites. Go check their real website and donate through there. Don't donate through the email that's been sent to you. Or if it's lesser known or you don't like donating online, you could get a real phone number and find out a real place to mail a check to or pay over a phone at a real number. Or if it's United Way and somebody comes up to you and say, hey, will you donate to the United Way? Look into them, and then if they're real on the real site, if they're listed as a staff member and you can see their image and you want to hand the check to them, you can do that too. So again, look into charities if you've never heard of them. GuideStar and Charity Navigator have really extensive records of charities and nonprofits. And if it's not on either of those, it's almost 100% fake. So you can always contact the charity, and you can always contact that charity if you find inconsistencies in your contactor. Like if it's United Way, if they're claiming to be United Way and there's somebody impersonating an employee, you can contact United Way and we'll handle it. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask or email me. My email is on a different slide, but I can definitely give Cynthia my email to send out if anybody wants it.
Sure. Rachel, this has been absolutely excellent. I can't thank you enough for doing this. Very informative and very timely.
Yes, Rachel, will you be making your slides available to Cynthia? I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I can send those out. And I don't know if you were on at the beginning, Desiree, she's recorded this and the link will be on the United Way's YouTube channel. And I'll make sure to get that link out in one of the Thursday emails once I receive that.
Yes, thanks. I heard it earlier. It's great. And I can share with those people that didn't get on, but I did send it out. So
great. Appreciate it. This is excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Really do. You're a good presenter.
Thank you.
Oh, really, they're good.
Thank you very much. I don't know about a certificate, but I can send out an email thanking everybody for coming if you're interested. If you wanted to leave me your email. And then Desiree, what did you mean by please repeat the fraud email? I missed that. I'm sorry.
On one of the slides where you have, let me just go back, let me flip back to those notes, where you have the FTC phone number. I was busy trying to take that down.
Oh, yeah.
And it had a fraud dot something there.
There it is.
Right there, fraud support.
Yeah.
There we go.
Fraudsupport.org is the Cybercrime Support Network's website. They're our partner on the Victims of Crime Act grant, and they're a really great resource. So
okay, yeah, thanks.
Visit that if you wanted to browse.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll let you all go.
All right. Rachel, thank you again. Really appreciate this. Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Desiree.
Bye-bye.